news is just starting to spread. The president of Chechnya has denied the existence of gay people in his country. So he says that there are no gay people here.
That's how you know there's a problem. I mean,
yeah, that's right. And so the Human Rights Watch is trying to be across it, and they're trying to get as many people out of Chechnya as they can. And anyway, there is a Sunshine Coast link. There's a group on the Sunshine Coast that's Sunshine Coast Rainbow. What's going on in Chechnya, Fiona?
Happening is that the Chechen government has been holding and supposedly, is what we've been told, abusing gay people specifically men over in Chechnya. So anyone that they suspect may be gay, they've been holding. Anyone whose relatives have put them in as possibly being gay, they are holding. And there's been a lot of work done through Canada and through the Russian LGBT network to try to release them and get them out of the country. But it is an ongoing thing. And because not many people know about it, we want to bring it to the general public's attention.
So you've managed, well, not you personally, but there's been donations that have been made that have actually got some of these men out of there?
Yes, I think they've managed to get about 30 out.
Right, and that's through what they call the Rainbow Network into Canada.
Yes, it's
right.
called the Rainbow Railroad.
Yeah.
Plus the Rainbow LGBT Russian organisation has also managed to help as well.
So what are you asking people on the Sunshine Coast to do?
Really all we're wanting to do is raise awareness. I mean, we would like people to donate. That would be so helpful and it would get a lot more people out. Really what we need is our government to stand up and say this is not good enough.
We know that this is happening. This is a human rights abuse, and we need to stand up. But you do have a vigil here on the Sunshine Coast tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night starts at 6:30 at Cotton Tree Park. Yeah, we're just asking everyone to bring themselves, bring their candles, and if they want to make a donation, they can do that too. We've got the website up on the event for people to be able to do that.
Chechnya feels a long way away, but, we're talking about people who are being put in jail and physically harmed because they're gay. It's a pretty awful story.
It's a terrible story. It's almost like a concentration camp situation.
Yeah. Well, we know that 3 people have been confirmed dead already.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, look, Fiona, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for caring and letting us know about this. You can follow your group on Facebook. Sunshine Coast QLD Pride is the place to go.
Yes, thank you.
And, of course, that vigil will be held tomorrow in Cotton Tree. It's 8:43. Mark and Caroline for breakfast.
That much about it. A special vigil is taking place in Cotton Tree, and a little earlier today a young guy from the uni came in to tell us about that vigil, and we'll have that conversation in the next 10 minutes as well. Today's Bruce Highway and a guy called Lloyd Copper, the organisers behind a very special vigil that's being held in Cotton Tree tomorrow evening. And first up, I started my conversation with Lloyd, but thank you, because he just came in person to talk about this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell us about this event, and I guess first up, why you got so drawn to the plight of these men.
Well, I follow a lot of news, but I also follow LGBT news. And a few months ago, it was reported that there were men being held in these concentration camps in Chechnya, which is a part of the Russian Federation. And as I sort of read a bit more about it, I became really just horrified by the details, because they are really graphic. And in every sense of the word, it's like the concentration camps that we know about from the Hitler era. And I just kind of felt a bit helpless, and I wanted to do something just to show that, because a lot of the mainstream media hasn't picked it up, something to show that there were people that were aware of what's going on, and, that we just wanted to, sort of spare a thought for them.
Can you explain why gay men are being targeted in Chechnya?
It's kind of like a complicated story, but basically... in Russia, it's not illegal to be gay there, but they've cracked down on homosexuality really in a major way in the last few years. And Putin has a lot of influence over the president in Chechnya, President Kadyrov, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that he's basically a dictator. So he's seen that there's been these activists in Russia that have wanted to hold pride marches. And he's just been outraged by this because it's a Muslim majority country and they don't accept homosexuality, like it's very taboo. But the actual incident that sparked it off was they found a man who was affected by drugs on the street, and when they took him to the jails, they went through his phone and they found adult same-sex images. And that sort of sparked this outrage from the police, and they demanded that he call his friends that were on his contacts list and under false pretenses to come and
sort of dob them in, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that basically started this horrific chain reaction where, as these guys came, sort of, unwittingly, they too were then told that they were going to have their phones taken, and that's what was going to happen. And unfortunately, that's where they were placed into concentration camps in a town called Argon. And that's when the really horrible stuff started happening, the torture, the deprivation of liberty, and basically death. It's really hard to get information from that country because the press freedom there is so bad. But Human Rights Watch, as well as satellite images, have clearly shown that this is going on, and it's getting worse, basically.
So here on the Sunshine Coast, Cotton Tree, what time do people turn up if they want to express their empathy for the men in this scenario?
Yeah, so we've arranged it for 6:30 p.m. We're very much hoping that we're not going to get flooded out after the reports today. But in a kind of strange coincidence, it was at the same park, Cotton Tree Park, around the same time last year where the Orlando shooting happened, and there was a vigil held there as well. And funnily enough, it rained, bucketed down at the time. We still had around 60 or so people come because it was just such a high-profile massacre. And unfortunately, because it's America, of course, they get a lot more attention than somewhere like Chechnya. Yeah.
So umbrellas, raincoats, and what form will the vigil take? Will you be holding candles?
Yeah, we'll be holding candles. We're also having some really interesting speakers. We've got a lady called Olga, and she actually works for the Customs and Border Protection Agency. So she has first-hand knowledge of what it's really like to be an LGBT person in that region. We've also got the ex-president of Quack. His name's Mark Morian, and he's really great. He's got a really impassioned way of speaking, really a lot of experience, that sort of thing. We've also got a couple of members from the Greens that are going to be talking. There's a few things that can be done to help these men. We are taking donations for a charity called the Rainbow Railroad Network, which is a bit of a mouthful. But there's also the Russian LGBT network, but because of the currency exchange, it's easier to go through the Canadian organisation. But even if you don't have money, basically if you just want to come along and just
learn a little about the plight of these people.
Yeah.
So what time do you want us to turn up and where?
6:30 p.m. at Cotton Tree Park, the one that's around the corner from the Big Top. And yeah, it's probably just going to be for an hour and a half or so. And we'll just basically, anything that people want to know, anything that people want to do, we'll be telling people about that.
Do you think there's any way some of the men in the concentration camps will find out about this? Obviously, you've got a social media presence. Is there any hope that somehow that message will get back, that people on the other side of the world care?
It's really hard to say. I mean, Olga is going to be a great kind of sort of source for that because she's from that region and she obviously speaks that language. But because the press freedom is so bad in Chechnya, and it's not just for gay people, for pretty much anyone that dares to dissent against Kadyrov, it's really hard to say. I would love to think that they know that there's people out there because we're not the first place to do a vigil. But oddly enough, we are the second place in Australia. The only other one has been Melbourne. So it's kind of nice that the Sunshine Coast, little old Sunshine Coast, is doing something, I think.
Was Lloyd Cooper, one of the organisers behind tomorrow evening's vigil, 6:30. If the rain is in some way prohibitive to that happening in Cotton Tree at the Parklands there tomorrow afternoon, Lloyd's going to give us a call and we'll let you know. But, they're just keeping fingers crossed that you'll put on a raincoat and get along and perhaps learn a little bit and hold a candle for those who are experiencing such great difficulty. Raincoat required if you're going to the Gympie show tomorrow, but we look forward to hearing all about that bright and early. Rob Blackmore from ABC.